What?
I don't know.
No, you're just gonna have to wing it.
I can't wait to tell you what happened last night. It's so sexy.
Hey guys, next episode, Seema is with us. Seema is a DJ, artist, filmmaker, photographer, software engineer. First of all, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Model and activist. They've been outspoken on casteism, racism, sexism, transphobia, religious supremacy, environmentalism, all these words that are really big for me, and have been a voice for dark skin stigma globally, which is fucking amazing. And 2019, Seema became an ambassador for Dark is Beautiful and has walked at the LA Fashion Week countless of times for several designers. All of this while being a badass engineer for Snapchat. Still?
Yeah, still Snapchat.
What the fuck? She has appeared and collaborated on many projects. First of all, the Convict Closer video. Like,
That's all my heart, my soul,
I was
and my
like
story
crying
in that photo.
watching it.
In that video, sorry.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And you can try and catch her now DJing for like literally at Burning Man. I don't know, fucking everywhere. Thank you for spending time. Welcome to What Happened Last
It's my
Night.
pleasure. I'm so
Yay.
excited to be here. Look at all this stuff. It's just I'm just so
We're in the
mesmerized
spaceship.
right now.
Wait till being in the spaceship for like 10 minutes,
Uh-huh.
and then you're like in the spaceship.
I already feel like I'm.
It's
into
really
it.
trippy,
This is all
especially
like
when,
unreal
when
right
you're
now.
drinking in the spaceship.
Uh-huh.
It gets
Cheers.
it gets interesting. Okay, so I want to start from the beginning because you have had experiences that I think many people wouldn't have the courage to even try to come back from. And like, I just want you to explain to me, like, growing up in Bombay, and I guess honestly, not only bullying in that culture of school, but also with elders and in your life in the beginning. Sorry, downer, but like, I need to start from.
No, it's
start.
a downer for sure, but it makes me who I am today, and I'm so in an odd way, like you said, like I didn't know I had the courage to live and survive that, right?
Yeah.
And now that I do, I can look back at it and be like, wow, if I survived that, like baby Seema survived that, like
Yeah.
anything that you throw at me is like nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I can handle this, So it definitely is like something that I use in my life to be like, no, I got this. Like anytime I'm down and out, I'm like, I have survived way worse. I can handle
Yeah.
this, So yeah, like you said, it was a lot of times like people think like colorism and like casteism, all of this is like very like in the fringes, and it doesn't happen in cities, it doesn't happen in modern society, but it does. And like a lot of times people think that colorism is only like, oh, you don't feel beautiful, fine, like get over it,
Yeah.
right? But the level of colorism and casteism I faced as a child was, now that I look back at it, I'm like, no child should have to ever go through that.
Yeah.
Because like every corner I turned, I was told that I was not worthy of being there. Like in school, in a dance performance, like,
Especially you were in Bombay, right?
I was in Bombay. Grew up in the edges of Bombay though, so I was in Dahisar, which is like, the outskirts, almost, or like the border of Bombay and Thane. But, there are dark skinned people, there are brown skinned people everywhere.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Like, were there other girls going through the same thing around you? Like, would you guys talk about it?
No, we never talked about it. That was the problem, because it was never acknowledged as a problem, right? So I think a lot of us were going through it in isolation, and especially it was hard to talk about it because I didn't have a name to it. Like, it was
Yeah.
like bullying, and I talked to my mom about bullying, and my mom like told me how to like, ignore it or stand up for myself. But it was not, they didn't know how to handle like this specific like, oh, colorism, what's the issue with
Yeah.
that? And then there was always this issue with like elders, like you said, teachers and other parents being, and like even my relatives, like distant relatives and stuff like that. What they said stung a lot more, because you kind of expect children to not know better. And
Yeah.
then even as a child, I was like, okay, they don't know better. They don't know how to be good people just
That's
yet.
so fucking horrible because
I
they're
know.
supposed to be the ones teaching you how to
Exactly.
be and exist
So
in
like
this world.
my first dance performance, I still remember. I was probably in like first grade, and it was called the dance performance was on the song called "Brown Girl in the Ring." Tra la 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 la. You know that song?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was on that song, and I'm super excited about dancing. Like dancing is like my thing from childhood. Like, my the first time we went to watch a movie in the movie theater was the movie Hum, and it starts with the song Chumma Chumma De,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And as a child, I think I was 2.5 or something, I ran towards the screen and started dancing in front of everyone. and lost my shoes in the process. And that's my first memory of like getting reprimanded or disciplined by my parents. Being
Oh my
like,
God.
what are you doing?
They were like, you can't do that.
You can't do that. You lost your shoes. You know, where are your shoes? So that's how like pivotal dancing was for me. It was my biggest form of expression. And like in that dance, like when I was dancing, you know, to the song in the performance, the teacher came and pulled me back. Me like, what is wrong with your face? Does your mom not know how to wash your face? Does she not use powder? You know what powder is?
Oh my God.
Talcum powder.
Well, no, of course,
And-
because I feel like Indian girl, like, I mean, I have, my mom's so progressive, but she, when I was younger, don't go in the sun.
Yep.
She taught me how to bleach my face when I
Oh
was
my
mad
God.
young, you know, but
Yeah.
that's basic normal Indian
Yeah.
girl shit. Like,
And
this is.
exactly. And like the sad part about colorism is that everybody has gone through it, but as you like when you're at the intersections of different things, right, like it gets harder and harder each time. So for me, what it was is I was, you know, wanting to be an extroverted child. I was like very out there. I was also like, you know, always playing sports, always doing stuff. I'm also like from the beginning I was non-binary, so I was always like, you know,
Yeah.
a very boyish and like, you know, gender fluid. So it was very easy to pick on me, and you didn't have to be in my circle to pick on me. You could just be a stranger. And you know how in Bombay there's a whole culture of like, or in India there's a like eve teasing is on another level. So
Yeah.
as I graduated from being a child, like when I was a child, it was teachers and parents and other people's parents, other children's parents and stuff like that. But then when I became like, you know, stepped into teenage, it was like the eve teasing was on another level. Like people say such horrible shit to me, like I can't even explain it or say it again. Like I'm shivering while they're talking about it. But that's what made it worse. It was like, okay, I was like, you know, an androgynous child who didn't know my place in the society.
Yeah.
I was like tall and sticking out, and on top of that, you know, dark skin is also associated with caste, like being from a lower caste, even though that is a completely like unjustified connection, but
Yeah.
that's what people use to judge your caste.
Totally.
So people would hurl these slurs at me. I didn't even know what they meant. I'd just be walking down the street and people would just like yell these casteist
Just
slurs
yell
at me.
something.
And then I would not know what they meant. And sometimes when I had friends around me, I would ask them like, do you know what that means? And they would not know. And then like, I think it was like 8th grade or something that I got access to Google. Like literally my first memories of like Googling all the
Oh my God.
words that people used to call me, and they turned out to be all these like different caste names of people like, you know, of different occupations
Yeah.
from different places. So the thing that got me the most is that, you know, even as a child, I knew that love was everything. Like, you know, because outside, when I opened the door of my house and stepped outside, I was like preparing for this hate, facing the hate of the world. But inside my little cocoon, inside my house, I knew what love was. And that was like, you know, my parents showed me so much love, my brother showed me so much love. And even the little small friendships that I had, I knew that was like the saving grace of the world. And I knew that's what the world was about. But the message that was repeated to me more and more as I grew older was like, no one's going to love you. No one's going to marry you. And like, you're going to be a burden on your parents because you're not fixing yourself. And that's the...
Well, just because of how you looked.
Just because of how I looked. Just because like, I never was like, fair, and I wouldn't do anything about my skin either because I was just a rebel. I was like, you know what, even the before after, like the before is also like 10 shades dark, like lighter
Yeah.
than me, right? Like what, I'm not going to become
well,
this
and
person.
also like why even like that's
Why even try?
Yeah.
So that really got me because like I was like, okay, if I'm not going to be loved and I'm every day like I have to open the door of my house and step into this world that's just throwing hate at me, like what is even the point? And like that restricted me so much. And maybe like, you know, all those things you listed out
Yeah.
about me, like doing this and that and all these different things, I now think that maybe it's a trauma response of me not being able to dream when I was a child. Like
Yeah.
when I was a child, I just wanted to die every day.
Yeah.
So I could not think of having ambition because I did not want to live, right? So it was like, I never thought I could be a musician. I never thought I could be an artist. I never thought I could be an engineer. I never thought of all these things. And now I've like done the 180 and I'm like, I love life so much. And I
Yeah.
love all the potential that humans have. And because I missed out on being able to dream when I was younger, now I'm just like, whatever dream comes by, I'm just going to do it for myself, you know?
But that's like, so like, were the, like, first of all, like, what was if your family was there and they were supporting you through all of this,
Yeah.
like, what was their response to all these experiences?
So my mom is literally an angel. Like I know everyone says this about their mom, but like my mom is on another level of loving and kindness. And so she was always my like hero and I always looked up to her, and like she showed me so much love, infinite love. But even she didn't have the tools to discuss because she also went through colorism. She's probably
Yeah.
the same skin color as you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Everyone goes through it in
Yeah.
India. But she did not have the tools to tell me that it was fine, that this is just a concept in society, and like society can change. It is
Yeah.
possible to change people's minds. What she told me to do was to accept it and like navigate around that, right? Like to just like ignore it and like think about the love that she has for me, think about the love other people have for me.
Yeah.
So kind of like ignore it almost.
She was giving you tools in the
Exactly,
way
to
that
survive.
yeah.
Exactly. But that wasn't necessarily good enough for me because I was like, okay, but like
these things are happening. This
Yeah.
is so weird. Sorry, I'm gonna like deviate
No,
from
go
this.
for it, go for
But
it.
because like I've been dealing with this with my mom and I love her so much, but
Yeah.
like the response to trauma to her is like you need to be in the moment and let all that go. But I'm like, wait, isn't there a point where I have to process
Yep.
these things happening in experience which have defined me and give them a little weight so I can put a period under
Yeah.
the fucking run-on sentence of like pain
I
that's been
know.
happening? Or is it just, I think from their perspective, it's like that's what they did. It's like just pack up, move on. What's next? We're here right now. We have all these responsibilities. We need to focus on this. There, I feel like, not saying it's privilege now today. Like I feel like there's privilege I would have to like be able to sit here and be like, I've dealt with bullying. This, I mean, I grew up
Yeah.
in fucking Orange County,
Yeah.
Newport Beach, like the height of like Laguna Hills, like all white girl, crazy Abercrombie and Fitch, fucking
Everywhere.
Hollister world, and moms literally had boob implants and looked
Yeah.
like your best friends. It was
Yeah.
nuts. So I can't even imagine what my mom was going through, but
Yeah.
I do know like I never felt seen or beautiful or even remotely like just seen.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it was like, and then wanting to do this with my life or be a pop star or be do music or do anything. We never saw any of that in
We
pop
never saw
culture.
any of that.
And
Yeah.
of course, I'm sure it's like even probably at least at that point I had the thing of like, oh, this is a different society I'm in and I'm different, but you're at home, like you're
Yeah,
in
I'm at
India.
home. Yeah, exactly. This is supposed to be my people.
Yeah,
you
this
know?
is supposed to be the people that
Yeah,
like
exactly. And
it's like self race. It's like internal.
Exactly,
like,
it's internalized racism.
Yeah.
Not even internal. It's internal racism, and it's infighting within communities. But that's what's bad about colorism is that even your own family can be colorist towards you,
Yeah.
right? Even the people that you love can adopt the same mindset that everyone else has. So even if they're showing you love, they're still coming. Some people have told me about how like their parents came to them from the angle of like, let me help you, let me get you this procedure, or give you all these tools like Fair and Lovely, or like different
what
very-
fucking procedure?
like skin lightening. There's like
Oh
you can
my-
do chemical peels that take like layers off your skin, and then you can get IVs that reduce the production of melanin.
Okay,
or
well, I'm
whatever.
so happy you were like, fuck no.
No, I was.
But
always
like, what?
fuck no.
Okay, like, but
But
like,
also, there was a dark side to why, like, there was a bad side to why I was doing that, because I didn't have any hope to live. I was like, what am I going to do by being
you
fair
were like,
skinned?
this is
yeah,
it for me.
This
This
is
is my
it. Like,
reality.
I.
But then
would
what
much-
was that switch? Like, how did you switch and be like I'm trying to understand internally as you being a human being, fuck the world, just
Yeah.
you internally. You had this like resilience about you the whole time. You were still living, you were still hanging on. But then what was that like switch that made you be like, oh, I'm going to turn this like massive negative into a positive and get behind a fucking camera?
Yes, so that is a long journey. I don't know how much time we have to
I
get
know,
in front
I
of a camera. Like, that's
I just
like a
mean
10-year
your
journey.
emotional journey through that. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
but like I will tell you, like first of all, there have been like crazy miracles, right? I have no idea how these things happen, and I can't take credit for them, because like of all the shit that I went through, there were moments of like divine intervention where I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Right. And like there were many moments like that throughout my journey, but one of the first pivotal moments was like around 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I found like really good set of friends. Like a
Okay.
group
Wow,
of
lovely.
girls and boys.
Still in Bombay.
And thems. Yeah, still in Bombay
Yeah.
in my school, who were like, okay, we're friends, we're gonna look out for each other. And like that was my first like, okay, there's gonna be some form of community and some form of love, which is why I, from the beginning I was like, friendship is love, because
Yeah.
the things that my friends have done for me, like I don't see even parents doing for their children,
Yeah.
So finding the right set of friends and realizing, okay, that was my first step out of the spiral. Like I have something and somebody to live for, and these people will have my back. My first memory, like, because my parents always told me like to keep myself safe, not to respond to any teasing, not to respond to any bullying, just ignore it, put your head down, walk through
Walk
it, right?
away, yeah.
Walk away. And so I designed myself to be like as inconspicuous as possible. Like I would like now I wear all the colors in the world.
Yeah.
But like until I was 16, 17, the only colors I would wear black, white, beige, gray. That's it.
Camouflaging, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No colors, no not drawing any attention to myself. But this one time, me and my friend were walking down the street, and then these little kids were playing cricket, and their ball came towards us, and they could have just been like, "Hey, give us the ball." Instead, they were like, "Hey, kali ball dena kya kar-" like
Yeah,
which means like they're just calling me names.
Yeah.
And so they're using that opportunity to bully me, and they're little kids, and I'm like older than them.
Yeah.
And my friend, my best friend to this day, she stood up for me at that moment. She took the ball and went and gave them a lecture. She was like, who taught you how to talk like this? Like, if you talk like this, no one's going to respect you. No one's going to give you a ball back. No one, you will never go anywhere in your life. She gave them a lecture and came back to me. And that was like, for the first time ever, I was like,
Wow.
oh, wow. I can say this to people. Like this is an opportunity. This is reality exists.
Yeah.
Till then it was just like my world was so closed up.
Well, yeah, but until then, you're also fearful of your life, fearful
Exactly.
of your potential, fearful
Yeah.
of just fearful. You're
Exactly.
like living in fear and not love, and everything
And
is those two things. So,
Exactly. So I was so transformed by that moment, and I remember it so vividly even now. And then after that, there was a series of interventions like that where I saw how much love people have for me, and I saw how much the world can be changed and people can have different mindsets. And then so that was like my first point of transformation, like finding good friends, finding love and friendships, and all that kind of good stuff. Then the next step was like moving out of India. Like I moved out of India.
You went to China, right?
I went to China first.
Okay,
yeah.
wait. So you went there for school?
No. I finished my engineering, and then
Okay.
my first job offered me like a project to go to Shanghai.
Okay.
And I was like, great, I want to go to Shanghai. So I went to Shanghai, and there were two things that happened. One thing was everyone was really intrigued by me. So everyone was just like, whoa, look at your hair, look at your skin color. Like, how did you do this? I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't do this. It's just natural.
Yeah.
But obviously it's kind of tokenizing and weird also. But in a sense, what it showed me is that people can have a different perspective where I'm not ugly, I'm just unique. And like, I'm just different from everyone else. Which is, for me, is awesome. Because all the people that I looked up to were, different. All these like rock stars, Radiohead, Nirvana, all that,
Yeah.
all those type of people. So I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can be unique. I can be interesting. But then the second thing that happened there was I realized that all of these, colleagues and friends that I had there, Chinese people, they were all applying some kind of skin whitening cream as well. And to
my
me,
God.
they were super
They're
light
already
skinned.
white.
Yeah, they were super light skinned to me. Obviously, some of them are a little bit tanned, but like even the ones who were super light skinned were applying that cream. And they were asking me, like, they were surprised that I don't do anything like that. And people in India, I was like, don't do that. But like, there are people in India who do this. But to me, their struggle, they explained, was that they considered themselves yellowish white, and all the ads were geared towards becoming pinkish white.
Oh my
So everything was about being like super translucent skin, which is like very, very like, white, as close to pink white as you can be. And that's when I was like, whoa, this is not okay. Like, how far does this go?
Well, I mean, it goes to fucking America. Black
Exactly.
And white people. I mean, it just
Yeah.
goes.
No, I meant like, how worldwide, how widespread this issue is.
Yeah.
So then, I was in Shanghai by myself, right? I moved, like, I was moved there alone. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And I recently discovered Google Scholar. So I was just like, okay, let's research about this stuff. So that's the first time I found this word. A lot of people actually called it shadeism back then.
Okay.
So I found like shadeism, colorism. I started researching all of this stuff about like where it started, what are people thinking about it, like where are all these researchers going.
How old were you at this point in
I
China?
was probably like 23. Yeah.
I want to know about your like personal life in China first of all. Like, what the fuck were you doing in China?
Okay, it was honestly overall it was really, really eye opening and amazing. It
Do
was
they
just,
like party over there? Were you,
I
like,
partied a lot. I had so much fun,
really
and Shanghai has
cool.
this like really alternative scene also. I think Beijing is very close to the government, and it's
Yeah.
very like central government like vibes. But Shanghai has a much more relaxed vibe. Obviously, after that, I went to Hong Kong, and I was like, I should have been in Hong Kong this whole
This
time.
whole time, and
yeah,
you like
exactly.
you
But
had fun. Okay.
at the time, it was like, okay, fine. But Shanghai was great for me because I got a chance to step out of India.
Yeah, for
so
sure. I
first
mean,
of all-
that first leap.
the first leap outside.
Yeah.
And then it's a really special thing to come from a country where there's just so much religion, and like religion is everywhere. Like, it's so ingrained into society and in the world. And same thing, right? Because I was also never, like, even in the religious stuff, I didn't find myself. So from the beginning, as a child even, I was like, okay, I don't believe in all this stuff, but like I love like my connection to the spiritual world, and like that's it. I don't have any like interest in religion whatsoever. And also, as a child, my first like traumatic experience in the world was the 1992 riots in Bombay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that really, really shook me because, like, you know, right in front of my house, all these shops and houses were all burned down. When we went back to school, like, you know, my friends, their dad's shops who are Muslim, they were burned down, and, like, you know, there was violence on every side. So for me, I was like, you know what? I don't subscribe to either of these sides. I'm good. Like, and I went to like a Catholic school, like Christian school. So I was like praying to Jesus, praying to Allah, praying to like, you know, all these different gods. So I was like, whatever, all of this is fine. But then going from India to China, where there's like no religion whatsoever, that was a very interesting experience for me as someone who like loves the philosophy behind all of this stuff. And it does a really strange thing to society when you don't have religion.
Yeah.
Because what religion does is like it establishes a common set of ethics or values.
Yeah.
Right at the base level. Right?
The base level, they're all the same. They're all the same.
They're talking about that.
Person, bad
but
person.
when you take that, wipe that out completely over a generation, like, what do you think people are going to worship? Like, people will end up worshipping like material things, right? Money and possessions and goods.
Yeah.
So to see that effect on society was really interesting for me, like that big shift, because I always thought like, oh, if we didn't have religion, there won't be any problems.
Yeah.
As a child in India.
But religion can be material. It can be power. It can be, it can be fame. It can be art.
Anything. Exactly.
It can be anything.
And then so having that perspective shift was really interesting also. And then plus for the first time I got to be alone by myself. So like, all this like formative, like who am I questions started happening when I was in Shanghai. And I was kind of like just discovering who I was, what I wanted to stand for in the world. And then while I was in Shanghai, I made a decision to come to America and pursue my master's degree.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was going to ask. Okay, so how did America happen? Because I kind of figured I couldn't find that anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, did she come to America because of like modeling? Or like, how did she get here?
No, so while I was in Shanghai, I was already like, so I graduated as a software engineer. So I already knew all the computer science stuff. And I knew how to write software. But what really interested me, and I got exposed to that a little bit in Shanghai, was like, how do you make good products, right? Because we were shipping all the software as like an Indian tech company does.
Yeah.
But I realized like, okay, there's so much of it fails because you don't think about user experience.
Yeah.
So like I said, I had lots of time on my hands. So I would just start researching like, how do you build good user experience? And then I learned about all these courses in America. They were just starting out in like this field of like human-computer interaction, user experience design, all that kind of stuff.
Crazy.
So I was like, I want to learn about that.
Okay, but how did you balance out this like Seema who does all this and then the Seema who like wants to be creative and like becomes like a fucking supermodel? Like how did that happen?
I know that happened. So basically I came here and then here I was like, wow, this is like on another level, like more than obviously Shanghai and China, like an acceptance of dark skin and a celebration of dark skin, especially like I always say this, like black people taught me everything I know about like, you know, owning up to my dark skin and like celebrating it. So that happened. And then I was like, okay, now I completely get the whole picture. And then even in my master's degree, right, I took a master's program in like kind of like product-y stuff. So UX, data science, all that stuff. But every project and every opportunity I got to write a paper or do some project, I would kind of go towards researching colorism and casteism, right? And so I started researching like, you know, how matrimonial sites back in the day would have a drop down for skin color. And it went only up to dusky. Like it never even said dark skin. So I wrote a whole paper about like when we were matchmaking traditionally without technology, like you could tell a matchmaker like, hey, I prefer a fair skinned bride, right? Like you could tell her. But the matchmaker still has human nuance and will look at all the people she has and be like, you know what, actually this might be a match. She has a good personality or whatever. But now when you put it to an algorithm and you put it under a filter, these people are not even showing up for you. You could live your entire life without ever seeing a dark skin.
Just based off of this one fucking
because
judgment.
because the algorithms and computers work on 1-0 binary systems.
Yeah.
So whereas like human beings have the ability to add nuance. So even though it's the exact same system, so the technologists will always say, it's already existed, it's just a reflection of society.
Yeah.
No, but like society has nuance, people have nuance, algorithms don't.
Yeah.
So,
but unfortunately, we're living in a society which fucking does
exactly
act like the algorithm.
totally.
Just based off of
It's like, yeah, it's the reverse influence of like computers on us, right?
Yeah.
Like now we're making decisions on dating based on a swipe,
Yeah.
and that's a 1-0 decision.
Yeah.
Basically, then I went from India back to from America back to India for my friend's wedding, and then her makeup artist for her sangeet is the first one who was like, oh, like I really like your dark skin, and I do a lot of editorials, and like I never get any dark skin models ever sent to me for any shoots. So I would love to practice on your skin, and like would love to like take a couple of shots of you. And at that point, like this is a person who goes back home and like burns and tears up all her pictures. I'm always the person taking other people's photos because I hate being photographed so much. But then I was at that exact right time in my journey where I was like, you know what? Fuck all of this. Like, why does it matter?
That's so crazy because
Yeah.
it's the one thing you've been running away from, and then it becomes the one thing
Yeah.
that allows you to speak out about all of this.
Because I realized at that moment is like, I had to give myself a really bit long pep talk that night before the shoot. I was like, if I don't think, because for me, truly, I do believe that, every being is beautiful. I can, like, it's all about how you look at things. It's all about your own perspective, right? And to me, if I really want to embody that message, I can't be like, hey, those people on camera are beautiful and I am not. And like the fact that I was not ready to give up control over my, like, how I looked to other people, it bothered me. I was like, okay, the biggest problem I have in this situation is this makeup artist and this photographer might take a photo and think I'm ugly. But I'm just like, that's exactly what I'm trying to heal from.
That's a you and you thing.
Yeah,
though,
exactly.
That
That's what
point.
I'm trying to heal from,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, if I don't do this, then I'm just pushing that healing step away. So let me just do it. If what's the worst that can happen? An ugly photograph. And
Yeah.
like, I don't feel good about myself. I've already been there. I can live through that. So
Wow,
I
okay.
was like, let me just take this chance and do it. And that was what happened. That's what opened the gates of modeling and big gates of just me giving myself the license to be a creative person.
Yeah.
Because until then, I just thought, okay, like, my whole self-worth was based on giving to society. So I kind of always thought, okay, I have to be of service to society and prove myself to society because society rejects me so much.
Yeah.
So I want to show them.
It's like a bad boyfriend. It's like you're
Exactly.
just like-
I can help you and I can produce value in this world. So to me, always that was like about doing service, acts of service, and like doing a job that has impact, that type of stuff. And then as soon as I stepped into that phase of like, okay, I'm in front of the camera, all the people, like this person who's photographing, I know how to take these photos. This person who's deciding what clothes to wear, I know how to do that stuff. I know how to do all these things. I have good ideas, but I've just never turned it around on myself and being like, hey, what do you want to create? Like,
Yeah.
who are you? What does your mind want to create? So actually when I had that moment, so basically this photo shoot happens and then it happens right before I move to LA. So I come to LA and I move to LA by myself without my partner. So I'm just like meeting all these new people and they're like, oh, what's your Facebook? What's your Instagram? And I give them my Instagram and they're like, wait, you didn't say that you're a model. And I'm like, I'm not a model. This is just like one
You're
photo
like, I'm
shoot.
a software engineer.
Exactly.
Thanks.
This is just one photo shoot that I did. It's like a random thing. And LA is like that, right? I don't know if you felt this. People are just like, oh, you have to meet my friend. Or like, you have to like come to my house and like, we should do something. So I just started saying yes to things. And then like, that was like my defining moment of like I said, understanding that even though I was a really creative child, I was pretty much like interested in every kind of art form. I did every little art thing in my school that you can imagine. I touched it somehow or the other. But I never grew up and was like, okay, I can be an artist. Firstly.
Well, you said something like away from the colors and bit of it, which it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like asking for a friend.
Yeah.
That's me. You said once in an article, I think you said until I was 29, I didn't think I could be a creative person. Mm-hmm. That's an age where, like, I mean, I'm at now, and I'm like, I just turned 30, and like, that age made me really rethink my creative abilities. Like, was that ever like a thing at that point in time in your life where you're like, I'm 29, I have this job, I'm a software engineer, I've done some modeling shoots, but like, can I fully bloom into this other person? Was age even a thought in that process?
No, age was definitely a thought, but in the other sense, right? Because like, first of all, I was 29 when I realized this, and I was actually sitting at a desk when this like came like all of a sudden as a big train of thought, this huge epiphany. And I started bawling at my desk because I was like, I have lived 29 years of my life, out of which 18, 19 years of them, I was suicidal every single day of my life. I never thought I would even get to my 20s. So I'm at an age which I would have never reached. I never thought I would reach as a child. And I went through 29 years of my life not even giving myself the ability to dream or call myself an artist, even though I had all these abilities inside me. And just the thought of that, like, if I went through that, there must be so many people who also go through that. And like just thinking back about like all of my ancestors and all of my family, like, you know, my extended family, like so many of them are also really artistic, but like they've never gotten the chance to do that because we were stuck in survival mode. And also we were kind of like relegated without education and without all access to anything, right? So that broke me entirely. And I was like, you know what? I may be 29, doesn't matter what my age is, like whatever little I have left of this life, I have to make the most of it. And I have to honor myself. Like whatever's in my mind, I have to explore it. So that's when I was like, no matter what anyone says, like if I want to do something, I'll do it for myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like 35, 36 now this year. And like I'm learning how to produce music now, 36 years old. Like nobody does that. And like I know a lot of people.
First of all, you look like you're 25, and like also like what the fuck? Like that makes me feel like drop a skincare.
So it for me it's just like okay, and plus I'm also a person who lost two of my most creative friends, two of my best friends who were the most creative souls I know, who are the biggest dreamers. They lost their lives really early. So when I was at my desk, like having that moment, I was like, you know, my friends didn't, even though they had all these creative dreams, they never got to realize them. And they were the most creative people I know. And like, I owe it to them to like do whatever my heart desires.
I'm more like, where the fuck did you learn this, like, take a negative, flip it into a positive thought process? Was it just like, it was so, you just had this like will in you to be like, I'm going to shift this flip this whole world of mine and shift this entire perspective for myself so other people can perceive you that way. It's like,
I don't know. I'm just like, you know, I think.
I'm like, how do you do? Give me the steps. Like what do you do? What do you do on a daily basis to like handle your fucking mental health at this capacity? Because it's like, fuck. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I go in phases. Like some days I'm like on it. I'm like, I do yoga, I listen to podcasts, I meditate, I do na-na-na, and then there's like 4 straight days I'm like on a bender because I'm running away from the things.
I know. I mean, I go through that as well, but like I said, the biggest thing that was handed to me, like the shitty cards that I was given, I survived through that. And then the biggest thing for me is, I think most of your things, like at this point, I'm just like, do I have a personality or is everything a trauma response, you know?
Yeah.
But,
oh my God.
But I think like, I truly am in a position where I don't have much to lose.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been in that position.
Well, because you feel like you had the experience of you had already lost at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I was already lost at the beginning.
Crazy.
So I know how precious life is. Like, thank God for that. And that's what I come back. That's what I keep coming back to, is that I never made, like, I would have not made it. And now that I've made it, I owe it to, like, you know, baby Seema to be like, live out all her dreams, you know. And like truly I do believe, like, you know, all of these pressures that we put on ourselves, they are very like capitalistic pressures of like, hey, I have to be successful in so and so way, or like I have to be the best at something, or like, you know, I have to achieve so many things by a certain age. They are all like really capitalistic pursuits. And like, I understand as someone who is a late starter and who wanted to die for the first 19 years of my life, I was like, doesn't matter, everyone's journey is so different, right? So for me, it's like, if I don't do this, like when I die and that moment comes, I'm not going to be happy. Like I will have that urge inside me that I did not satisfy. And I like to be at that point, to be even thinking like that is such a huge thing for me. Like, because I know how I was for the first 19 years of my life, where I didn't have anything to look forward to. So there's a sense of urgency inside me that I think might be because of that, because I'm just like, I need to do this now. It's now or never, you know, like I owe it to myself.
I mean, I get that. I mean, like the sense of my thought is right now what I want to ask you, and I know they're telling me time, but like, fuck this. This is great. Like growing up in Orange County, me having these dreams, being an Indian girl, the only one out of all, and I'm living in white land, winter wonderland. It's like, and even in trying to pursue a career in pop music out of all the fucking
Yeah.
things, having a career in India, coming back in India, I'm the American girl, and in America, I'm the Indian girl. It's like, what the fuck can I just be this person? And I even went through a period where I was looking at like thesis statements about the lack of South Asians in pop culture and what that does for your brain growing up as a kid. If you thought you could fall in love that way, or all the things, like just seeing yourself on screen and just diving into that. My question to you is like, okay, you've started from a place where you've had incredible adversity that you had to overcome, and that gave you, from what I'm hearing, is like, oh, you just took the tool and the gene to like be like, all right, I'm gonna flip this and I'm gonna do this because I'm able to look at life practically and shift my perspective. Has there been, since you've flipped that switch, you start modeling, you have success in your career, has there been points in time where you felt like, ooh, I can like grab onto this validation now, or I could grab onto this validation that like people are seeing me, or has it happened in relationships, or has it kind of started happening where, because I feel like you look super in yourself for that validation, like from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Like you look super in yourself, you're super self-confident, you're super self-reliant.
Yeah.
But have you, I mean, I know any of us girls, we all go out.
So relatable.
Yeah.
Like I go out to seek I've always went out to seek validation in
Yeah.
men. Always. Since
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm like
Or other
over
people
here
you don't
being
even
like, you
realize.
tell me I'm beautiful because I don't fucking think I am, you know? So it's like, have you done that in other parts of your life? And have you
Yeah.
tried to overcome that?
So
And
you-
how the fuck have you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I have to think about it a little bit.
Sorry.
So I think you're right about that. That my validation always comes from inside.
Yeah, which I'm trying to build. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how the fuck did you...
Because but that's another thing that I'm trying to work on, is because like it doesn't matter, like I feel like I don't appreciate sometimes of like what's happening in my journey right now, right? Like, so even like if people think, I'm like really uncomfortable with that, like when people are like, whoa, Seema, great job, or like post me on their story or something.
Yeah.
I can never repost that. I'm like so but to me that relationship is a little bit toxic, right? Because I just always knew that if I base myself on what the world had said, I wouldn't have survived. So even when they're saying good things, like I can't handle it. I mean, not handle it as in like I can't handle a compliment. I know we all have that problem, but I almost like, to a point, I think it's not true, and it's kind of just like,
Whoa.
it's kind of just ephemeral that I don't have to pay attention to it or something like that.
Well, fuck all the shit that's
Yeah.
happened to you in the beginning, but
Yeah.
that's like a beautiful way to look at the world,
Yeah.
though.
So I think like maybe that's the reason, and I think it works out for me because I know that all of this is temporary, it can go away anytime. And like all the other divine interventions that I didn't get to go into, a lot of things have happened where like in an instant, like my life completely uprooted. And I'm like, whoa, this is like a complete ego death, right? Like,
Yeah.
and in that moment, because I've been through like a couple of them, I know that, everything that I honor and value, like nobody else gets it. Like what I value and honor, like, when I try to explain it to people, like they're like looking at all the like different achievements and stuff like that. But I know that that's super temporary. And I know that when I was stripped off of all of that, what mattered the most to me was being outside in nature and having good friends and being able to love people. And these are the only things that I had in those moments.
And no one can take you away from
And
those
no one can
things.
take those away from me. And so now when there's all this stuff, even like I'm really bad at this because, and like I said, everything is a trauma response. Like I'm so bad at finances. I'm so bad at like, making my page look
The
like
curls are
whatever.
snapping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm bad at this because I'm just like, they don't really matter to me. Like I'm just like chasing people and connections and like chasing, being outside and my being artistic and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a good thing. I'm like hoping it's
Yeah.
a good thing and like just writing that, but I still do need to get a credit card because I don't have a credit card.
I'm like, oh, I need to have like a SEMA part 2 because I want to ask more things, but I know we're out of time. And I had so many other questions, but fuck it. All right. Okay. I guess I'm going to ask this like the last question before we go into like the rapid fire. First of all, like incredibly, just for me, even like I've gone through a lot of fucked up shit and been to hell and back every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying, like the universe, like things happen and life changes.
Yeah.
That's literally my life.
Yeah.
It's wild. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, did all this crazy shit happen for no fucking reason?
Yeah.
But I have to create the reason, and I have to get up every day and be like, that reason still exists for me to keep getting up and fighting for it. what do you do on the daily? I need like the Seema practice routine.
What are your daily rituals?
Like, what are the daily?
Okay,
like-
so this is again, like I don't have my shit together. People think I have my shit together. Like every
I mean, fucking same.
I
but
know.
like,
So I meditate a lot, but that I don't even know how to say that because like as a child who nobody talked to, like I was always
were
in
a
my head.
meditator,
I was
yeah.
a meditator. Like I was like, you know, in the zone all the time, like thinking about deep shit. So I'm not meditating. Like I was sitting outside in the car, just sitting, and like I caught myself being like, oh, there's people passing by. They must think I'm crazy just sitting in a car, like with the windows down. But that's me. I'm like, I'm a very meditative, reflective person. So that helps me a lot. But other than that, I don't have any rituals. I like play with my cats, make sure to go outside every single day. I love playing music. So even if I just like play the guitar for like 10 minutes a day, that's, the good day is made. So I have that.
I feel like it's you connected to like your child self.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're letting yourself play.
Yeah.
Like I think as I get
Yeah.
older, like I'm like, oh, I can't do that right now. I stare at my guitar. I'm like, I used to pick you up every 15 minutes. Now I'm like, don't talk to me. Like you know, because you just start, I don't know, becoming an adult.
Yeah. I don't know if you read my bio says live to love, love to play. That's because that's what it is.
Yeah.
For me, like I live to love. And anything you want me to, and the reason why I also want to do, like, the things that I'm drawn to and the things that I'm trying to learn, they're all connected to play. And they're all connected to, like, being in the moment with other people. Like, I am not interested in, like, just making myself better by myself. Like, doing something by myself just for myself, like, I don't understand the point of that. So I'm always looking to, like, connect with people, play with people, build connections. And so everything comes from play. Everything comes from, like, for me, like, all the magic happens there. And maybe that helps me being a level-headed person. I don't know.
Being grounded, yeah.
Yeah, being grounded.
I think just from my perspective is I think it's just finding pleasures in being alive away from chasing after a big dream, chasing after a relationship, chasing outside of yourself for something that could fulfill you, and you just find simple pleasures to be the thing that grounds you.
And I think like that also is what being suicidal has taught me. Like the biggest gift is that when I wake up every day, I used to be like, fuck, why did I wake up? But now I'm the opposite. When I wake up every day, I'm like grateful that I'm alive. And like I look at trees and I'm like, whoa, it's kind of crazy that we get to live on this planet. But, I thought that feeling would go away. And like, even when I'm in my like most depressive episodes, like, when I'm anxious at my lowest.
Which do you still have?
Which I still have. I don't think it ever fully leaves you.
Yeah.
But, in process, always. But like a hot shower, ice cream, going into the water, like going on a hike, like picking up my guitar. Just like those things are just like, bring me back to reality in no time.
Yeah.
And just engaging in that, just having like, also like, when you live with cats also, just have to say, you just realize that this is all.
I'm like, remember, I'm so not a cat person. I need to like put that clip here, like about the cats.
I know. You're just like, the fact that cats exist and they want to hang out with us, that already is just like,
I love that.
This is
for
magical.
You.
Yeah.
For me.
Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, rapid fire. Let's do this.
Also, just clarifying, I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person also, but I live with cats.
You have cats. I have to put our
Exactly.
clip
You don't have to pick. Okay,
I have to tell you something that I'll show you this clip after this is done. Okay, last thing you Googled. Rapid fire. Let's go.
Last thing I Googled, probably how to write something in a script, like how to script something. Like
Awesome.
in
You should ask AI, ChatGPT.
I know, but I Googled it because I was working. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your like biggest pet peeve? Like what sets you off? Like what are you like pissed off? I feel
Recently, I've been pissed off about this, about like, how you go to LA parties and people are always like, oh, I know this person and like I know that person and whatever you say, like their connection to that story is just that they know that person. But I'm like, but the story is better than that, like you can add to the story if you want. So that's been a little bit of a pet peeve, but I got used to it.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All-time most inspiring human to you.
All-time most inspiring human. Wow.
Sorry.
Good question.
I'm getting better as I age with this podcast.
Wow.
3 age a week. One person.
Okay, I'm gonna say Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar.
When you're not changing the world, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
Play
I'm
with
actually
cats on the
not
beach.
changing the world. I don't know if I'm changing the world.
I mean, you are with
But what am I
saying, what you're
doing by myself? I'm probably like downloading tracks and dancing to them.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing most of the time.
Okay, are you dating?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I have a partner. Maybe you met him. He was at the Young the Giant show. Yeah, so I met my partner. So you know how I always talk about like 18, 19 years?
Yeah.
And like something changed.
Was that him?
Yeah, that was him.
How the fuck did that happen?
I just fell in love. Like we met in undergrad.
Simple. So
yeah,
simple.
so simple.
Like,
we met in undergrad. I thought he was cute.
where? Here or in China?
In Bombay.
Oh, in Bombay. I'm like, wait, what?
So I thought he was really beautiful and cute, and
Wait, you guys have been together ever since? Is this the one you DJ with?
yeah,
Wait.
17 years.
Oh yeah, I forget his name.
yeah,
Sorry.
Siddhant. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Fuck, I should have talked about this way earlier. Okay, we need a part
We
2.
definitely do.
You ready for I mean, I could keep going,
Yeah.
but
Go ahead. I'm here.
what are you ready for what happened last night?
Oh yeah, you want to talk about it?
Oh.
Mm.
Okay, so for preference, if you haven't seen this show, I have a show. If you haven't seen this show before, what happened last night is where every guest gets to tell me like a crazy story about what happened last night, and I have to guess if it's true or false.
Oh, you have to guess if it's true or false. This
Did
can
you
be really
forget
easy.
that?
I forgot that part. I thought it
Well,
was
now
just
I fucking know it's true. Oh, great though.
Or it
Tell
could
me.
be false.
Oh, that could be a big trick.
No. Shit. That changes everything, right? Because like now.
Why didn't you read my text properly?
I read it, but I didn't register the
I
fact
read
that
it,
you're
but
gonna guess whether it's true or false. That I didn't register.
All right.
So now,
For all I know, you change it. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you can just. How about you tell me, sorry, I'll tell you one.
okay, we can flip it. I'll
We
tell
can
you what
flip
happened
it.
really last night because this is really boring.
This really happened last night?
This really happened
Oh,
last
you're
night.
just going to tell me
I'm
what
just
happened
gonna tell you what
last
happened
night.
last night. And then you tell me something and I'll guess whether it's true or not. Because
Wait, did you think all I wanted to end my podcast on was you to just tell me what happened last night?
I don't know. I felt like people might have really interesting things to say. And I thought like, you know, my thing would have been interesting, but then...
No,
it
now you
didn't.
have to tell me what happened last night.
So last night what happened was I got hit up by a client to pull some data, and the thing that I was supposed to pull, that query stopped working and it was not performing as the way it should be. So I sat up until 2:30 a.m. Instead of having a script that could just run itself and gather all the data. I had to one by one look up like 20 different things for one ad and do it 78 times and copy paste that shit 78 times, and I stayed up doing that until 2:30 a.m.
Was that what you couldn't wait to tell me?
I know, exactly.
True or false?
Probably fucking true.
Probably fucking true, exactly. So I thought it would be like, because how I thought the whole point was like how everyone will have really different stories and like mine would be so boring.
No, I mean you can come back and tell me another thought, but because people
Like, that's not good. Let's change it. Let's do another one.
No, people have been telling me like it's been funny, like the most ridiculous stories, and most of them like have ended up being true, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was expecting to create some magic last night too, but then this happened, So
Oh my God,
it
I
was too
love
real.
it.
Yeah, I was trying to have an interesting night also, but then this client thing came up, and then I was like, shit. Now I don't have anything interesting to say to Zoya. But maybe it could be funny that my life is not interesting at all.
Oh my God,
It's
no,
so
it
boring
is.
my
It
life
is. I'm so happy you came on. Thank you so much. Like I think the girls and I both agree. Like this was my favorite one. I think. Yeah.